Right, well, apparently we are live. It's that time again, 3 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in Europe, and whatever time it is where you are, good morning and afternoon to you. Welcome to Poly Live Weekly News. It is the 11th of May, and certainly in the UK, we are keeping alert. We're not staying at home anymore. We're going to stay alert. Wherever you are, I'm hoping that things are getting easier and simpler for you. Interestingly, one of our guests today is actually in an office. So clearly that's they can't see you yet, so you don't need to wait. Yeah, that is that is, he's just throwing me. That is a thing to come for us all, we hope. A couple of shout outs. Apparently, I am live on telly in Jason Ward's house. So, hey, Jason, I hope you're enjoying the afternoon on your day off, watching live here on YouTube. And also a shout out to little Eric Tristram, our youngest viewer, who's been watching the streams a lot. So, hey, Eric, thanks for watching. For the rest of you, this is the Poly Live Weekly News. We have a packed show, as always, lined up for you. Let's have a look at the reprobates here in the green room. From my left to right, we have Duncan Strong. Duncan is in an office in Vancouver, of all places. So, yes, how many people are in the office, Duncan?
That'd be me and myself and I think.
There you go. Social distancing happening there in Vancouver. Next up, David Danto in New Jersey, maybe? Is that about right? Yeah, somewhere East Coast, East Side, socially distancing. And then we've got Jochen Eidam in West Coast. We're going to West Coast, San Jose, I think. There you go. And then last but by no means least, joining me in the UK, Tom Arbuthnot, somewhere in Kent, Sussex way-ish, maybe.
Hertfordshire, close.
Hertfordshire, there you go. Different county, just up a bit and around the M25.
Yeah,
there you go.
Close enough.
Awesome. So welcome, guys. So if you are new here, this is the Poly Live Weekly News Show. We do this every week. We've had a few audio gremlins, and I'm hoping that everything is now sorted out, and we're not going to have anything, because today we're going to be talking about the Poly Trio. Oh, blimey. Hang on. Susie's come in. We've been YouTube bombed. I'll get that sorted out while you watch the credits. Well, there we go. I've kicked Susie out, and now we're going to get up to the show. So if you are new here, so please subscribe, hit that bell. We do this every Monday. We'd love you to join on a regular basis. And I've got two great guests to start with. Duncan's camera's just gone a bit crazy. So we'll get that sorted out. We've got two great guests. We're going to be talking about the Trio, first of all things Trio. I've got Jochen and Duncan to come and talk about Trio. And then next up, after we've done with them, I've got Tom, who's going to be talking all the things about Teams, what's new in Teams, new features coming out rapidly on Teams, with a lot more people using it from home. So we'll catch up on what's going on in Microsoft Teams. So let's get on our first guest here, and we're going to get Duncan and Jochen up here with me now. Guys, morning for you, I guess.
Yeah, good morning.
And Duncan,
good morning, Neil.
There you go.
Thanks
So there you go. Duncan has gone into an office in Vancouver this morning. So again, it's a thing for all of us that hopefully we're going to start going back. Is Vancouver lifting its restrictions a bit?
That's right. Yeah. Last week, the government here reopened the office work sites if they could comply with social distancing.
Right.
So, yeah. So I'm here by myself.
So it's interesting, I guess, we're at this interesting time where we've all kind of been working from home, and now slowly people are going to start to trickle across, and we're going to have this kind of hybrid between people at home and then some people in the office, and having to kind of enable the communications now, not just office to office, but now office to home worker in a much greater number, I guess, as we move forward through this.
Absolutely.
And Jochen, what's going on in California?
I should do the full disclosure that there are a few workmen on the other side of this floor doing some. This is a new office for Poly in Vancouver, so
very cool.
I hopefully won't be interrupted by them.
Okay. And Jochen, what's going on the West Coast there for you?
Yeah, so West Coast, well, I think if we're talking COVID-19, well, we still have lovely shelter in place in California, so I get to work from home for another 3 weeks for now. It's always lovely. to have the family around. At the same time, I kind of envy Duncan that he can go to an office once in a while at least. But, I'm all set up at home. I got all my gear. So no trouble here.
Nice. Okay.
So
So I see Duncan's just got what we're talking about this afternoon. It's the new headset, isn't it? The new trick. There you go. You need another one now. We're talking about the C60.
Before we get started here, just 1 second, thanks.
I knew this was good.
This is it. See, we can get a little bit of camera action on that.
There you go. I knew this was going to be chaotic with Duncan. We've definitely got the straight guy and the full guy this afternoon. It's a thing of beauty. It's definitely a thing of beauty. So Jochen, obviously a lot of customers out there with 8500s and 8800s, superbly popular product out there with the Viz Plus and the Viz Pro. Why should they upgrade to this new 60? Before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what's in there, what's the main reason behind it?
So there are a couple of things that obviously we put into that new device, aside from a more fresher, more approachable look and feel and design. We've put in a way more powerful processor. So we're talking about roughly 4 times faster than the existing one. So that gives us a lot of room to play, with third-party applications and making improvements. As you may know, we have the noise block capabilities, noise block AI on it. So that will give us a lot more flexibility to do more. We have a new Android operating system, Android 9. That's what we're running on the device. We'll tightly managing controlling that. So no worries there. It's really meant to be an appliance. We built in a proximity sensor. So to make it more smart, when people walk in a room, you can control power with it. We have... what else do we have? Oh, obviously, all Trios come with the Poly signature audio that you can expect from us. And the beauty thing is, because it's a Trio device, it runs the familiar user interface that we already have on the Trio. So while it is a brand new device for your end users, it's pretty much the same user experience as they're interacting with it. So
nice.
Those are kind of the key things.
So Duncan, you're doing some great job modeling it there, but what's the deal with regards to video systems? Obviously, we've had with the 8800 and the 8500 the kind of Visual Plus and Visual Pro kind of approach. What's the story with regards to video on the new C60?
I'm just trying to spare you the work there by muting myself when I'm not. So,
good.
So one of the things that's changed a great deal in the UC landscape since we, 6 years ago, brought out the 88 and the Visual Plus type of room architecture, is the move from standards-based video to these cloud-based and proprietary endpoint application type of video. So, your Teams and your Zoom types of systems where they have a proprietary cloud infrastructure connecting to an app that runs on the endpoint. And so with the C60, we're moving to that app-based approach to video. And that means that our front-of-room devices are now the Studio X and the G7500 devices, which are also optimized around this idea of running apps that connect to the cloud. So with the C60, if you want to include a Trio in that studio, or if you want, with a C60, if you want to upgrade the C60 to include video, your options are the Studio X30, Studio X50, and the G7500.
And how does that kind of pair together with those devices? Does it work as a full Trio, or I know a lot of customers are used to the kind of Trio being the kind of brains of the operation, and the Viz Plus and Viz Pro are kind of the dumb video modules. That's kind of changed, hasn't it, with this new architecture? So when you're running in video, you can use it as a it's more as a controller, isn't it, in the video mode?
Yeah, again, because we're moving away from the old architectures for how video was done to a more sophisticated app-based architecture, you need apps running both at the front of the room and on the controller. And so with as you mentioned, with the 8800, you had a single app running on the Trio that was kind of orchestrating the whole room. With the C60 and the Studio X or G7500, you have two apps. You have your front of room app that's controlling the video registration, and then you have your controller app on the Trio. And then, of course, the Trio is also an excellent speaker and microphone. So those run in parallel with the other speakers and microphones in the room.
Nice. And Jochen, when you designed the product, obviously you wanted to make sure it was future-proofed and, it was going to take us for the next, 5, 6, 10 years into the future. I noticed there's some additional ports on the bottom. Can you just talk, I mean, the cabling is something we do need to talk about. Again, Duncan's doing an amazing job here of demonstrating. So obviously we put a lot of ports on the bottom this time rather than on the side. I know we've got a lot of feedback on the 8800 on that. But can you just touch, there's a mini HDMI port on the bottom. What's the deal with the mini HDMI?
Yeah, so let me surprise you. So you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Not just a screw cork, but this is a Swiss Army knife. So the Trio is probably one of the most versatile devices, right? That you can put in a meeting room because it's super flexible. So and with us upgrading the device, its capabilities and horsepower, we thought about what are other use cases, right, that customers struggling with and to add value. So the HDMI import that we have is really for future use where when we work together with the ecosystem applications that Duncan just referred to, when they're capable of kind of accepting, content, locally, what we can do is we can allow you to plug in an HDMI cable on the table, right, and support that, traditional content sharing and very safe content sharing use case right there from the table. The beauty of that deployment is you don't have to buy additional boxes, additional gears, HDMI extenders, and so on, and think about the cabling and running it and deploying it. So you have a single Trio C60 on the table with a PoE connection to the table, and you have everything you need to connect and hook it up. Right. So that is really a lot of extra value that we're adding there.
Nice. And so obviously if a customer's already got 8500, 8800, what's the, choice to upgrade? Should they stick with what they've got? Should they start to move to the C60? It sounds like it's got a lot of great capabilities on it, over and above what the existing devices have.
Well, it almost makes my heart bleed, right? The Trio 8800, I brought it to market roughly 5 years ago. It's really a great product. I love it. It remains to be a great product for customers that have standardized on it, say, or the 8500, they can continue to buy the product, and augment their existing deployments, especially if they want to use the Visual Plus and Visual Pro, right? And they've come to enjoy and value that deployment for adding video to a conference room. So for them, it remains a great tool. In addition to that, one of the specialty features we have on the Trio 8800 today is what we call the visual USB. So when you're running a Windows-based Zoom room, for example, you can connect the device over IP to that Windows-based Zoom room. And again, you have your single cable to the table experience, a very clean deployment. So the Trio C60 will not come with that out of the box, but we're looking at delivering at a later point in time. So for those customers that have standardized on that deployment, love that deployment, that clean deployment, yet another reason to keep buying the Trio 88, 8500. Having said that, the C60 obviously, is a great new choice with a, future-looking platform.
Nice. Talking of futures, we never talk about roadmap, and we're not supposed to, but we've got Duncan here, which is always dangerous. So Duncan, 593 is coming up very soon. What can the guys and gals look forward to that's coming in that new software on this new C60?
So hard to know, isn't it? Really, the future is so uncertain. Anything could happen. We have some great features to make the Teams audio conferencing on the Trio the best Teams audio conferencing endpoint on the planet. So that's a real focus for our next release. We think we already are there, but we're got great take up with customers of Trios in Microsoft environments, and they've been giving us a lot of great feedback. and we're making sure that all that feedback is going to be in that next release. So really look for, I think thematically, I can talk about what's coming in 5.9.3, and that is everything you would want in a world-class, market-leading audio conferencing endpoint for Microsoft Teams.
That's very politically correct. Thank you. So, Jochen, when can everyone get their hands on one of these beautiful C60s? I know we're kind of flashing them around here at the moment. I know clearly there's some kind of global pandemic thing going on at the moment, so I'm not sure if that's kind of worrying or challenging kind of supply lines. But I think we're pretty darn close on this, aren't we?
Yes. We had a little setback, right, as you just said, right? So we communicated this out to partners, right? So we tried our best, but things happen. So things are looking pretty exciting, but pretty good. So I'm expecting first units to start shipping in North America towards the end of May, the second half of May-ish.
Awesome. Great. And for the rest
then
of us outside of North America.
Yeah, so Europe, APAC, Asia will have units show up probably around middle of June-ish. So we need a couple of weeks to get product transferred. So, but that's the time frame. Please, reach out to your partner manager, account manager at Poly just to double check on country availability. There might be a few nuances.
Yeah. But end of May for North America, realistically end of June for rest of the world, realistically. Okay, cool. We're gonna go crazy. We've never done this before on Poly Live Weekly News. I'm gonna try and get a four-way going. So I'm gonna get David Danto, who's been manning the chat. I've not been looking at them because Maylin always tells me that I'm not looking at the camera enough, and I'm constantly looking at my screen, which is what I'm doing now to make sure that the layout looks right when I press the button. It kind of doesn't look too bad. So let's go to a four-way with Duncan's shoulder. So David, got some questions. Duncan, move over. We got some questions coming in on the chat for Duncan and Jochen.
Yeah, we actually had a couple of questions, both of them, of course, from Kevin. Wants to a little bit more about how the C60 works with some of the video codecs that we're using. One question is if you're using an X series, can you still push the speaker audio to the X series instead of the C60? Another question is if you're using it with either the X series or the G7500 in poly video mode, are both devices registered to the gatekeeper? Which one is registered as the device? And a really interesting question is getting into the integration of these devices to actual use cases.
Sure. So let me answer the first one. Yes, if you would like the speakers to play out, the playout to go through the X series or G7500 attached speakers when they're paired, you can do that. And the second one, in terms of the registrations, when a Trio C60 is paired to a G7500 or X series, the X series and the G7500 are registered to the video infrastructure. And we do have roadmap items for potentially allowing multiple registrations in the room, but it's not something that we can talk about on this call.
And one more question that just came in. Great answers. And I think I know the answer to this one, but it's out there, so I might as well go through it. People are asking about the C60 with Visual Plus. Can you use Visual Plus, Visual Pro with it?
Yeah, I'll take that to mix it up, right?
Jochen, go on.
Yeah. So as Duncan so greatly kind of explained earlier, so the C60 is focused on pairing with our Studio X and the Poly Video at the G7500, and we're focusing on that future architecture, and we're leaving the Visual Plus, Visual Pro support behind, and allowing the Trio 88, 8500 to continue to pair with it.
That's all you got from the chat today, Neil, at least so far.
I can't hold a straight face with Duncan on the call. I think we'll call it with you two just before I get a complete attack of the giggles and this all just goes to pot. I think we'll go and I think get our next guest on. So guys, thank you ever so much for waking up nice and early. Duncan, enjoy your day in the office. Jochen, enjoy your day at home, and we'll see you. Or David, don't go anywhere. We're going to get you back, by the way, for questions for Tom. So keep pushing them in the chat to ask some questions. But the rest of you, thank you so much. Okay, that was Duncan and Jochen. Duncan Strong and Jochen Eidam from the Trio conferencing team. Some great updates there on the C60. It's really exciting. Going to be coming out, I say, end of May for North America, June for the rest of us, and I say a great solution for you to be able to upgrade your rooms. So going on from there, obviously the big thing around the Trio C60 is the capabilities of the C60 in Teams mode, and talking about Teams, there's probably no one better that I can think of to talk about Teams than that Tom.
second best to your UI.
Second best, certainly not me. I'll be completely honest. I know probably not a lot about Teams. I'm a great Teams user, but you guys, you MVPs, so yourself, Randy Chapman, Adam Jacobs, Jeff Schertz, all of you guys, I just take my hat off to you and the level of technical detail that you know around Microsoft and Teams. So I'm clearly a fraud here. And
I appreciate you got the full wording for the intro that I requested. That's great. Thank you.
There you go. Very good. Yeah, checks in the post. So Tom Arbuthnot, MVP from Modality Systems. So we've got a rogue on the Poly weekly live news this week, a non-Poly, first non-Poly person on the chat. But
oh, there you go. There's the title, first non-Poly person.
There you go. You've been a first. So again, when I thought about Teams, and again we chatted on Twitter about getting you on here. There's a lot of stuff going on in Teams at the moment. Clearly, there's a lot of the usage has gone up. Was it over 2 million? What was the number recently? I don't know. Put you on the spot, but their usage has gone through the roof.
Usage on crazy. Obviously, world events have had an impact. So they're up to 75 million daily active users. So that was up from 45 million 6 weeks ago. So it's gone real hockey stick. 200 million daily meeting participants. So the same people being counted joining multiple meetings, but that's 200 million meeting participants, and 4.1 billion daily minutes now, so audio video minutes. So yeah, some pretty crazy, and we've seen that at Modality as well, just people as part of their BTP, as part of working from home, just pushing teams out really fast to deal with the current situations.
I've heard that from other people actually, that they had a plan to go to Teams in the next kind of 18 months, and suddenly that's going to be ripped up, and they've done it in 2 weeks and really kind of accelerated that process, which is
the biggest one we've seen is 60,000 seats inside a week, like from decision made the following week to everybody has it. They were Skype shops, so already used to UC, but needed that extra capacity and ability, so just jumped. And I don't think that's that unusual if you look at the growth figures globally, and you think that most of those 75 million daily active users are probably organizational accounts rather than consumer accounts, then that's high numbers of orgs jumping on.
Wow. And the interesting thing I think about Teams, there was some FUD going around last year. We talked about it. I know you kind of didn't hear about it, but there was people talking about Teams version 2 and Teams version 3. And I think we need to clear up that Teams is a cloud-based platform, and features are going to come as and when they get enabled in the cloud. And I know that certainly Microsoft have had quite a high feature velocity of new things coming in, which is why I wanted to get you on this afternoon. So do you want to cover off some of the new stuff that's come out recently, and just so everyone, in case people have missed it, I know people have been playing around with the silly backgrounds and things like that.
Yeah. Backgrounds got serious? all the press backgrounds got all the press. People love a background. I mean, it does have a good use case in that people are, particularly when they're working from home, they live like they're in a less than perfect situation. People get nervous. I think generally culturally, everybody's getting a bit more okay with, like, you're going to see my kitchen and you're going to see my lounge, and we're working from home in a BCP situation, but people like to be professional. So the background images is a big one, but there's also been a bunch of other meeting improvements that are currently rolling out. So hands up in meetings, so being able to click an icon to have a virtual hand raise to know when somebody's interrupting. And the biggest one that everybody's been waiting for is 3x3 video, so having up to 9 concurrent video participants in the meeting, which is a thing that like lots of competitor platforms go ahead more video count. So having those extra eyes to be able to engage with you has been a strong request for quite a while.
And is that just on the Teams desktop app, the kind of Windows Mac app, or how does that work with regards to like MTRs and through cloud video interop services and things like that?
Yeah, great question. So usually things roll to the desktop apps first, so Windows and Mac desktop apps. The web client is slightly more restrained. So if you have zero plugin web client, at the moment you only get the active speaker on that. Right. So whether we get to concurrent video on that, I don't know. And you'd fully expect this to roll out to things like the MTR and collab bars at some point, but I haven't seen a public date for that. CVI is really interesting, the cloud video interop, because I'm sure you know this, the Poly, I think, is still the only CVI that has the 3x3 layout, as if you didn't see that question, Neil. But it's quite an impressive technical thing that the MCU's been sending it for a while. It's been client-side development, so Poly were really hot on that, having that feature in CVI early.
And obviously we can't talk about roadmap, but clearly there is a lot of new stuff being developed on Teams. Is it like a monthly cadence, or what? Have you heard anything about what they're doing?
Yeah, there's no fixed cadence as such. I mean, they run as fast as they can. They have rings of testing, so things get rolled out in phases, which is why if you're on the socials, you'll see stuff come up early from Microsoft people or sometimes from partners, because they're testing and rolling it out. But what they've done is, as a response to customers and organizational requirements, they massively reprioritized towards A, sustaining this incredible growth, but then B, meeting experiences and things that people needed to have a great meeting experience at home. So hence, some of the things that have been on the roadmap for a while have been pushed back a bit, and some of the things that most customers are demanding right now, like the 3x3 video, like the hands up, like the background images, those all came to the top of the dev pile. And it's quite amazing, having been in the Microsoft space for forever, like how agile this is compared to how it was in the server days. You know, you had a 3-year plan basically, and we went, you know, luckily as MVPs we get to go to Microsoft and talk to them, and they'd be like, well, great, I love all your feedback, we'll see you in version X. Like, whereas now with the user voice online, with them being active in communities and active in customers, you can see things go from like suggestion through to development if there's enough demand very, very quickly.
Nice. So what are Modality doing around this? And again, grasping the moment as obviously people transition from office to home, and now obviously going back from office, from home back to office, and that kind of hybrid period in between.
Yeah, so there's a lot we do around helping customers get there. So lots of customers coming off Skype onto Teams, and there's a whole lot of reporting we do from Microsoft Graph, which is a usage API. So we pull all the usage, all the team memberships, team ownerships, governance, that kind of things. So making sure, particularly in the larger customers, that their governance, security, compliance is all in check while they're doing all this new collaborating, guest access, new ways of working. Just making sure they're on the right path, really. And we're fortunate to work with some very large customers around the world, so we learn a lot about how to achieve this kind of a reasonable pace, but at scale as well.
Nice. Okay. So thank you for joining. You're everywhere. So you see today, you've obviously got your blog, you've got your millions of followers on Twitter. What are you up to at the moment? Obviously working from home, but what's new for you?
Yeah, so I'm lucky to have a kind of split role between Strat with some of our big customers, product development, and a bit of time to do the community stuff. So the podcast, the UC Today guys, great, blog, everything, and all that stuff kind of feeds into our customer feedback and market analysis stuff. So I'm very fortunate that Modality are pretty supportive of me jumping around from thing to thing. But yeah, I've been at home since lockdown, got two young kids, so dealing with wife working and kids working has been an interesting balance. But yeah, I was saying before the call, actually, it's quite nice. Everybody globally is in the same situation, so it feels like everybody's cutting each other a bit of slack on this is the reality right now.
Nice. Well, let's see. Let's go and see if we can find David in the chat and see if we can get the both of you on to do this. See if the magic happens. That magic won't happen if I press that button. There we go. Gosh, it's so slick and smooth this afternoon. David, hey.
You get it on the second time every try. I really appreciate it.
I need more hands. What's going on in the chat for Tom on Teams?
Well, there are a lot of fans going on around the team system. One of the things that I put in the chat that I'd love, Tom, if you'd comment on, I heard, I think, over the weekend that Microsoft announced the ability to split out the video coming in I think, as a feature in June and as the default in July. That's going to solve a lot of problems. One of the things that I love the platform. I use it every day, but it's always hard when you're in a call and you want to actually go back to the team or you want to share the team. Nobody really knows what to press or what to do. So do you guys have any insight on that when that's happening?
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. So that is coming along with the hands up and the 3x3 video, the ability to essentially pop out, or when you click a meeting link, it will be another window. I've had a play with that. It's really, like you say, I'm a dual screen user, so I want my meeting on one screen and my content on the other, and that does it for meetings and calling. So yeah, that's June. It's going to roll out, I think, enabled but turned off. Then July they're going to enable it by default, and then in August they're going to kind of change it so it's on by default and the default. So rolling it out in phases, but you'll start to see it around June, July time.
That's great. And any roadmap, and this is one of the questions that, I think the answer is we can't answer, but any more conversation about when we're going to see some of the Poly Studio X and C60 using some of the new advanced features on the Teams platform? Do we have any dates or ideas, or is it just to stay tuned?
Yeah, I'm super excited about that, actually. I did a blog just this weekend about the collab bars, because I'm getting lots of questions from customers with execs working from home, and they're actually looking at things like the X30 and the X50 as personal video devices. So I have no insider knowledge as to the roadmap that I can kind of share, but I definitely think we'll see those were intended as huddle spaces, but I think we'll see them at the higher end exec being used as personal video devices. Certainly the X30, it seems like a really good fit.
No, totally. Oh, I did hear
I see a lot of people asking about dual screen on the video bars. That's one of the things that's been frequently requested to the Teams team.
Yeah, again, we obviously neither Tom or we work for Microsoft. So it's probably not best to speculate on Microsoft's roadmap. I'll be Switzerland at this point.
Good disclaimer, Neil.
There you go. So let's.
Nobody's going to get in trouble
now. Well, again, it's we're all working together. So I'm very excited. So I did see there was a video last week that Ilya put out saying that they're obviously making progress certifying up the X30. I'm sure that Microsoft are working on the project. Diligently. So we'll see more roadmap and more features as we move forward on that. So I guess watch their space around that. So that would be my response. So I think we've gone long. We've gone like 31 minutes. So I'm going to call time at that because I don't want it to go too crazy, but I think, I'd like to get Tom back on. So I think Teams is a really good topic. A lot of people are asking questions around it, so we'll definitely get you back on. So maybe
that'd be great. Yeah, it'd be lovely to do some time on the Teams perspective of all your portfolio, because there's so much good stuff in there to talk about.
That sounds great. David, thank you ever so much for manning the chat as well. We'll let you get back to the rest of your day. I'll finish by wishing you a great rest of your day out there in internet land. Stay alert if you're in the UK. Stay safe, obviously, everywhere else. And please subscribe and ring that bell to keep up to date with new live streams coming out. And so we go live every Monday, 3 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. European, and 10 a.m. Central. So I'll see you next Monday, if not before.